To another episode of This Week in Sports. Of course, I'm your friendly neighborhood host. My name is Zach. Along with me, I have my partner in podcast, Nick.
Howdy, howdy.
Another year for us. We've finally been around the sun once as a podcast. And as we do so, I figured we might as well grow the podcast in doing so. So we change our format just a little bit just to feel a little bit more professional around here.
Yeah, if you're new to the podcast, welcome in. We're going to give you kind of a weekly rundown of what went on in the last week of sports. If you're an old-time listener, if you've been with us through year one, it's going to be a lot of the same info, maybe just in a different arrangement.
Yeah, for sure. Ideally, I want to spend more time biting at some of the chunkier bits of news stories that we kind of have to speed through and get through. So I think this will be a fun little mix-up that we have here. So to start this week, let's begin in the world of hockey, actually. Tell us what happened around the ice.
Absolutely. So if we're going to start with what happened in hockey, we have to talk about that World Men's Hockey Championship that we've been following loosely with all of the NHL players that go on to play for their respective countries after their playoffs are done. We already covered how Nathan MacKinnon, Sidney Crosby, and Marc-Andre Fleury have all been ousted as Team Canada in a surprise upset, as well as Team Czechia not making it to a medal round. It was Team USA against Switzerland for the gold medal in that one in the finals. And I did not realize this. Team USA has not won a world championship in ice hockey in 92 years.
That is actually very surprising. I also don't know who's on that roster because a lot of our, at least the USA people that we know of, are currently playing in the...
It's a lot of the younger guys. I like the biggest name I think is like Jeremy Swayman was the goalie, and he got a few like hot and cold streaks throughout the whole thing.
Is Worlds mostly for like some of the older guys and sort of the younger guys?
Certainly, it seems like the way that this is treated by Team USA at least is as a next step in development as a member of like the junior. It's a lot of guys who played at junior Team USA level. So, because Team USA has like an interest in developing a core unit of guys as well, of like just available American players, no matter where they are in the NHL. You can Avengers them together and hope you have some continuity going on in that program. So it's a lot of guys who've played together as well. USA does take the gold medal in this one in a tight 1-0 goalie duel that was decided in overtime, 2 minutes in off a wrister from Tage Thompson of the Buffalo Sabres. So Tage Thompson is the hero who gets Team USA its first gold in 92 years. The big motivational story out of that one is that was the last tournament that Johnny Gaudreau played in for Team USA. So they got to put his jersey up and they skated around with the cup and everything. So that was a nice little feel-good story there. Team Switzerland out of that one is now 0-4 in gold medal games, having lost in the 13, 18, 24, and now 25 games.
Impressive, though, that they've made it so fairly recently.
Yeah, it seems like that's a pretty good upswing from Team Switzerland, who I would not have pegged as being a hockey powerhouse, but here they are.
Yeah, tend to be more of a violent sport, so.
Indeed. Our other big coverage was PWHL. We had one last game on the season, and it was a doozy. Minnesota with the chance to take home the cup on home ice, and they sure did put it away.
It's the storybook writes itself. Like I said,
absolutely did.
Looking at how some of the even through the playoffs, which is kind of where I started to watch the PWHL a little bit more closely, their whole setup just feels bigger and better than everyone else. So they kind of feel like it feels a little bit like they are the favorite. Again,
a lot of pieces of a Team USA program going on in that program as well. We covered them during the off season, having that little mini coup, getting the coach from Team USA installed over the previously sitting general manager. But it all worked out in the end, apparently. They raised the cup again on another 2-1 overtime victory. They changed the format up a little bit on this one, going with Ottawa scoring first early, Minnesota making the comeback, and then Minnesota scoring again in the overtime. But the big story out of the finals in non-Frost news was Gwyneth Phillips, who did take home the playoffs MVP and had to do the fun, I'm sad because my team lost, but now I have to accept this trophy and do a photo shoot.
That's twice now in the world of hockey, because I think Connor McDavid
had to do it last year, yeah.
What a good little
And
running.
he didn't even go out to the ice. They just said his name on the thing, and the commissioner stood with the trophy.
No, he was for sure hot.
Yeah, they have the footage of it on the little behind the scenes on Amazon Prime, I think, if you want to watch it. It's pretty good. For a Canadian, he gets a little spicy there. But yeah, so Frost take it home again. And now this is potentially end of an era because we look forward now to the expansion draft coming up. 2 drafts coming up in the PWHL offseason. The specifically expansion draft to start filling the Vancouver and Seattle rosters. And then they're going to get up to 12 players through that draft. And then the regular yearly draft happens, in which the Siren have the number 1 pick.
Yeah, not many players in the pool currently, so for sure you're gonna see a lot of shakeups, and I assume you only have so many protected.
It's a very tight, like a lot of teams are going to have to making some tough decisions. You get 3 protections to start the draft, and after 2 rounds of picking, you can protect a 4th player.
That's not quite enough.
It's a very limited window of who you're saying is your core going ahead. The other tricky thing is most of the contracts that were signed at the beginning of the league were either 1 or 2 year contracts, so nearly everyone is up for renegotiation if they didn't sign an extension already.
This sounds like a good Agent of Chaos. Everyone is a kind of a free agent-ish, and you also are going to have your team pretty much ripped apart.
Yeah, there's going to be a roster juggle. I think this is the benefit, though, of being a omni league owned by the one billionaire who doesn't mind shuffling his money around that way.
House of Cards.
I guess so. That was the big stakes hockey news of the week, and then we have the ongoing playoff series in the NHL with the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers. Last we left them, Carolina was hanging on desperately, looking at a 3-0 deficit in their series, and they managed to pull out one. Game, would that be game 4 at home? They did go ahead and take the win. That one was basically a 1-0 game all the way through. It was Logan Stankoven who had the initial goal for the Canes on a turnover early in the first, and they rode that 1-0 lead the entire. There was the one game they were able to stick to their blueprint.
You score once and
shut them down. Yep, and don't let them through one more time. The ref may have been blowing the whistle a little bit in their favor as well. Nothing is scripted in pro sports. Don't worry about it. But they did get the one win to take the series 3-1 and force a game 5, which they did go ahead and promptly lose. Yeah,
they kind of just put a hold on the inevitable. They did not look. Florida just looks so good, and that's the big thing, is that they never really looked to be available, like ready to challenge Florida for a full series. They got the one kind of that you expect to get in a 7-game series, but even in the game 5 where they're, desperate and trying their best, it still did not go their way. They did take it pretty close. It was, I think, a 1-goal game going into the third, but just the offensive power never stopped. They were never able to throw Florida consistently off their game for long enough. And no one seems to be able to, because you'd think if anyone were built to do that, it was the Carolina Hurricanes. And no defense wins championships here. That is also to say there is some hot goalie situations going on as well. Yeah, I mean, as long as they can get the first goal, they're fine. But if not, it's all downhill from there. And even then, in this game 5, they blew a 2-0 lead.
Stankhoven gave them 2 goals. No, I think it was Aho gave them 2 goals very early on in that one. They immediately gave them back in about a 5-minute span in the second period. And that was sort of like, they're done.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure that's the game. I saw somewhere that they switched out their goalie. Was it them or was it the other series?
That's going to be our other series with the big goalie controversy in it to end that one off. But yes, in game 5, Florida did go ahead and punch their ticket back to the finals. They are defending champs, and they look like it.
Yeah, they're kind of an annoying team, to be fair. They're really good, and also they kind of know they're good.
They know they're good, and they know they can beat the team they're going to play against.
Physically and mentally and potentially just skill-wise as well.
It's gearing up to be an entertaining bit of hockey, depending on how long it lasts.
We'll find out.
We will find out. The other half of that series is the western half of the bracket, and that is our Edmonton and Dallas series. Once again, we left that one at 2-1, I believe.
Correct.
And that one was in Edmonton for our game 4, which Edmonton used their home ice advantage and took a 4-1 victory. This was all power play goals and was basically a 2-1 game most of the way through with 2 empty netters at the very end. That gave Edmonton the 3-1 lead, giving Dallas a do-or-die game at home. And this is the one I think you probably saw. 6-3 was the final in that one for Edmonton. And the big event that happened immediately was that Jake Ottinger gave up his first 2 shots as goals. So down a 2-goal lead immediately to start your must-win game. The Dallas coach did decide to do the very dramatic goalie swap, and it was a very controversial decision across the hockey world. Because it basically tells your starting goalie, who you have locked down for 2 or 3 more years, I'm pretty certain you did not trust him in your biggest game of the season.
I can understand from the goalie standpoint, like, give me a second here, but also, my guy, you can't let 2 for 2 be goals. That's no bueno there.
And now, this is a contextual thing where I can say he gave up his first 2 shots on goals. You can go look at those 2 shots and tell me which goalie on earth can save these wide open breakaway. Like, it's a complete defensive breakdown. So while it was a 2, no saves on 2 attempts, there was also some pretty huge defensive blunders committed in front of him. And that was sort of the theme of the series, was that for as tough of a time they gave us, Dallas was not consistently committed to their defense, and you can't do that against the Oilers.
They have way too many dudes who can just score the puck.
And you forget about, because there are the big name guys, you forget about the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, the Evander Kanes, sort of support roster of guys who can make the play, who can do the setup for the big fancy finish. And that is the energy that they rolled through Dallas with on, I believe that was Thursday night. Thursday was when Edmonton punched their ticket, and so now we are all set for the first time since, I think I nailed it, since the 07-09 Detroit-Pittsburgh series, we're going to get our first back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals.
That is, you don't see it as often in sports now because of the salary cap issues, especially in the hockey world, for sure.
I did not realize it was, in fact, this is only the 5th instance it has happened in hockey history. The Canadians, I believe Patrick Waugh's Canadians had a back-to-back series in the 80s, and then it was like a couple instances of Ottawa back in the 60s. And that was in the era when it was only the 6 teams, so of course you're going to have some...
You don't have very many options to choose from.
Exactly. So that is, I believe, all of our hockey news.
And I'm going to take Florida for that series because, unfortunately, as good as Edmonton is, I think I don't think Connor McDavid is destined to win a cup, and neither is Corey Perry, who he has on his team still.
He has the Corey Perry curse hanging over him. The only thing is that they have that one more year of, like, there are some people who say you have to lose enough in the playoffs before you can learn to win in those clutch moments. and maybe they've suffered enough in the eyes of the hockey gods, but
I don't think so. The way Florida's playing just currently through this playoffs, I think they're gonna tilt so hard.
you're relying, if you're Edmonton, on a streaky Stuart Skinner. Like, he's been on a hot streak now, but that could cool off, especially because I don't believe we will be playing again until it's Wednesday of this week, the 4th of June. We will begin that finals, and then we're only going to have 2 games to cover for next week's episode. I think they play the Wednesday and the Friday, and then it won't begin until Monday. But yes, it's probably looking like a repeat cup year if I were a betting man as well. Last note out of the NHL, little Avs prospect tracking here. We did sign our Russian goalie prospect, Ilya Nabokov, who we mentioned a few times throughout the year. He has officially signed a 2-year entry-level contract, so he's now kind of on the clock for contract timing and whatnot, but it is already been negotiated that he will spend 1 more year out in Russia before he comes out. So
I don't know, because I know we re-signed Blackwood.
Blackwood's got the long contract now. He's locked in for like 4 or 5 years. I think Wedgwood has a year left as well. So
I thought so too. I assume when he does come over from Russia, he may spend some time with the Eagles, would be my guess.
Assumably at least a series or 2, just for, make sure he's up to snuff and whatnot, accustomed to the American game. It is always a little different league to league, but we will assumably be getting a peek of it. I think the interesting thing is they did say he is coming out to the U.S. for development camp later in the summer, so that'll be when we get to see him alongside all the other sort of rookies and Eagles level prospects who will be trying to make the team this year.
It'll be interesting, especially with it felt like we were going through the turmoil of who's going to be our goalie and kind of have a set thing going on here to throw in another guy into the mix once again.
Wedgwood was always the obviously shorter term answer. He's the older of the guys. He's the more veteran. He's played that backup role already for a couple of years on shorter contracts. So that one's less of a surprise, but I think we do have that sort of bridge period right now where we still will be rolling with the woodshed.
Yeah, I like the woodshed thus far, at least in regular seasons. I'm going to need to see them in an Avs uniform for the full season going into hopefully another playoff run to really get a feel for what that net duo looks like.
Yeah, hopefully that's the direction that we get to see is as much of this year's final form. We can go ahead and mention that there are some rumblings about whether or not Brock Nelson wants to take a little bit of a pay cut to stick around with the Avs for a full season.
He did want to come here.
The report came out this week. He turned down a trade to Winnipeg. He could have gone to the Jets and been in that bracket, but instead decided he would rather go to Colorado, which largely we know is already thanks to Devon Taves, who played with him over when he was a Islander for a little bit at the start of his career.
Gotta love best friend duos.
Speaking of, Jonathan Drouin's going to be up for a new contract this year as well. How much do you pay for a best friend bonus for Nathan MacKinnon?
However much Nathan MacKinnon wants, basically.
We'll see if the cap can bear it, but yeah, we'll get into those conversations later in the year.
We will start to transition over here to a little bit of a round ball before we get into the serious stuff. We'll talk a little bit about the WNBA this week. A lot of WNBA action, pretty much games all week long. Like I said, early in the season, some are noteworthy, some are not. A couple games just to highlight is the one that happened yesterday that was a little shocking. We talked about the monster that the New York Liberty is.
They spanked the Suns, didn't they?
Spanked the Suns for sure, 100-52.
Oh, that was. I thought that was a 60 when I saw it on the. Even that's bad. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a 48-point victory, the largest in franchise history for the Liberty, and second largest in WNBA history for wins. That's gonna be
That's Sabrina and Stewie and who else?
Natasha Cloud's with them. They have a couple other players, I think, from the Unrivaled as well that we would notice, but they are kind of running at full force here. A little scary if you are a WNBA team. Once again, the Connecticut Suns are one of the few teams who they replaced damn near their whole roster, which not ideal if you're going to go against the defending potentially repeat champions that they look like thus far in the Liberty.
We do unfortunately have some early season basement dwellers who are not looking like they're going to have a good time this year.
Not particularly. Some other games of note. One on Friday, the Sparks at Aces. We saw Kelsey Plum go back home to Vegas, where she had spent the last few years as a champion herself. Did not go as planned, though, because Aces kind of figuring it out a little bit here. 96-81, it goes in the Aces' favor there. The other games to note, Mercury and the Suns also yesterday. A lot of close games. A lot of close games happened these past couple days. Phoenix wins this one 85-80, and Vegas taking on Seattle once again. This time, though, Aces have figured out 75-70 was that final score. Just looking around and our league leaders, we know her, we love her. Nafisa Collier is leading the league currently in points with 26.8. Kelsey Plum's right behind her in 24, which is maybe a shock potentially because she kind of has been taking a back seat to Aja the past few years, showing she can still put the ball in the hole. And right behind her, of course, is Aja at 26.3.
Yeah, no surprises on that list there. And I did see something about, do you know anything about this Commissioner's Cup that's running this week? Is that sort of the W version of the early season tournament the NBA has been doing?
Correct. Since the WNBA and NBA are kind of like brother and sister companies, the NBA really liked how the NBA Cup has been running thus far. So I think they included it into the WNBA this year to get more eyes and a little bit more competitive spirit going kind of earlier on in the season, get some teams going a little sooner than they probably would have.
That checks out, and I think it definitely helps when you have those big slates of games like yesterday, Sunday was. That's just a lot of good content. Although I will say it's not, for as many games as they have, not all of them are quite as easy to find as the others.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at standings for the WNBA, really, you only care about the top two right now because who is standing at the top two? New York Liberty, of course, 7-0, and then the Minnesota Lynx, who faced off against them in that championship, also 7-0. 7 in a row were both those teams. So right now, looking like destined to meet again at the championship. So we'll see how the season continues to shake out there.
Yeah. Some bad news on the injury front, though, especially for the media-friendly names of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark went down with a quad, I believe, to start the week.
She did. She's going to be out for a couple more weeks.
And then Paige Beckers also ended up taking an injury at the end of the week.
Yeah, she took one a couple days ago. I think it was concussion, so she's going to be out for a couple games, unfortunately. I will say, though, that without Caitlin, Fever still look okay. They're losing some games, naturally, of course, because they
cooled off a fair bit after losing their engine.
Yeah, losing the star player, the engine to your machine, but still putting together some close games. So that's ideal for some of your role players. And once Caitlin Clark comes back, that ship will turn around. Now the more unsurprising news. We can talk about the NBA playoffs. What a shock for everyone who's
one of these series was a little more interesting than the other, at least.
Kind of. We'll start with the less interesting one. The T-Wolves kind of dropped the ball against the Thunder. Gentleman's sweep for the Thunder there. The T-Wolves won one game in basically a butt-whooping fashion, but that was it. That's all that they had. They had really no answer for Shai or any of the other Thunder squad.
Yeah, without Ant doing his very best Superman, you got nothing really behind him.
No, to be fair, this as a Denver fan makes me feel a lot better because we took them all the way to 7. So really,
and that was the best anyone's thrown up against them so far.
Yeah, and really what everyone has been saying in the media was whoever wins that Nuggets Thunder series is probably going to end up in the finals, which at least thus far seems to be true.
Yep.
The one that had a little bit more resistance was the Knicks versus the Pacers. The Knicks did end up winning another game this week, but that's all they had left in them. The Pacers win this series 4-2, and we have a great Midwest showdown between the Thunder and the Pacers that's going to be starting this Thursday. So we will see. I'm sure everyone in the NBA is excited for that. Personally, I kind of want to see the Pacers win. For either of these teams, it'll be their first championship,
which is wild,
which is crazy. And I'm rooting for the Pacers mostly because Tyrese Haliburton kind of just got doo-dooed on the past few.
This really does seem like Halliburton's kind of coming out, like stepping up into like, hey, I heard what y'all been saying, and now actually I am that guy.
Yeah. So I'm going to be rooting for them. Everyone, they had a little map of everyone rooting, and it's like the world's rooting for Oklahoma City, and then Indiana's rooting for the Pacers. But I'm like, I can't as a Denver fan root for.
I feel like that's the underdog take in this one as well, because the reigning MVP and whatnot can't be an underdog, I don't think.
Yeah, the other funny thing was, I don't know if you saw during the All-Star game, how they were, I don't know if you watched any of the celebrity All-Star game or saw any of the memes, but there was like who they were going to choose for the MVP, and it was like Drewski and Kai Cenat or whatever, all thought they were going to be MVP for the game, and it ended up being someone completely different.
I did not see that.
It's a meme out there now, and which is hilarious because in the Eastern Conference, the same thing happened. I think Tyrese Halliburton thought he was going to be the MVP for the Eastern Conference final, but ended up losing to Siakam by 1 vote.
That is pretty good.
There's a lot of Nuggets news, and since we're here in Denver, Edelman did have his press conference earlier this week and asked the media was asking a lot of questions that he kind of couldn't and shouldn't probably answer for the most part. One being how included is he going to be on the GM search, which really isn't up to him.
Above my pay grade.
Pretty much is what he said.
Yeah.
The other question they asked is, with your current roster, do you have all the pieces you need? And like, what else are you going to say other than, yep.
Well, Nikola said no when he got asked, but that's Nikola.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun offseason. There's a lot of rumors and whatnot floating around about who the Nuggets can potentially pick and slot in. We might find our friend Bruce Brown back in town, potentially as a free agent. Trey Murphy's name's been thrown around, who gave us some problems over there in New Orleans. A lot of where's Michael Porter going to end up if he's not with the Nuggets, which hopefully I think at this point he can't be, at least from a cap situation as well.
Yeah, it certainly seems like you're just a year ahead of things with your prediction from last season.
Pretty much. I knew what we needed, and really just kind of turned and panned out that way. Hindsight's 2020. I really do wish we would have traded him at the deadline when he was sort of at his peak value, but unfortunately, much like Bitcoining, he fell catastrophically, and the playoffs did not help any, especially with some of the decision making he made. But he's still young, and you can't find a 7-foot shooter like him everywhere, so he does have that going for him.
Has the value, still has the championship experience that you can lean on in the marketing.
The one trade I thought I was the most excited about was trading him to Chicago. It's, of course, it's going to be a 3-team trade, a bunch of people moving everywhere, but we trade him for some good role player pieces, but also we end up with a couple guards, one of them being Lonzo Ball, which I'd be excited about.
Yeah,
having him and Jamal on the same court with whoever, and then Gordon and Jokic, that would be very, very cool, because Lonzo, we know, can play defense 1 through 5-ish almost, 1 through 4 certainly, and then he's going to be distributing the ball to all the shooters around, and hopefully we'll get one more shooter. Aaron Gordon shown that he's improved fairly drastically, so the offseason I think will be a huge one for him. I definitely do not, nor should we ever trade Aaron Gordon. He should probably retire a Nugget at this point.
I feel like the Cronkies feel similarly and will do their best to lock that down, and Gordon definitely feels like he's gonna want to stick around too for the later half of his career here.
Yeah, the other questionable one is I don't know how to fill is you move both MPJ and Jamal Murray, which I don't know. Jamal Murray's one of those. That
is a little bit of a bigger shakeup where you're moving some pretty. It's looking like a lot more of a fresh core now.
A little bit, but I think the championship window for the core that we have currently, I think is kaput, as is for sure. We can sort of make some. Nikola Jokic is still, he's only going to be 30-ish, so he has a couple more years before. I don't know. The way he plays, he could play much longer.
Exactly.
At a very, very
he's going to
level.
be abnormal to any sort of regular sort of projected regressions. And then we're also in the, there's in the wake of LeBron figuring out how to play till 42 or whatever he's going to play to. That's going to make it easier for other guys to kind of follow in his path.
And he moves nothing like LeBron. The wear and tear that he puts on his body is going to be much less for sure.
Yes. If anything, he has to rehab more of what he did in the off season.
I'm glad he got to go home, got to drink some beers and go hang out with his horses. And much needed R&R for hopefully a better season for him to come up. But we'll keep track of what happens there. Draft is coming up soon. Nuggets have no draft pick, so it doesn't really matter for us. Allegedly, there's some interest in finding a way to get a draft pick. How do you do so? I don't know. We have some pretty bad contracts out there that I don't know who.
Yeah, it's kind of wild when you look up and down at how much of the bench was just
inexistent. Yeah. The like I said, the fifth highest paid guy on our team touched the floor for I think a total of less than a minute overall in the season, being Zig Naji. I think we saw him for 3 or 4 games there towards the end, and that was it. Maybe we saw him maybe a little bit in the beginning before whatever happened, and he ended up in the backlog of the bench.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly, the most overpaid example, but then Saric didn't pan out at all.
Nope. We stopped playing him after the first month, and he was like, don't got it.
Yep. And then you just got to live with that, apparently.
I don't know if you saw the other news, but Russ ended up apparently having surgery as well. Russell Westbrook, he ended up having surgery on his hand, I do believe.
Yes, I was curious, because was he on a 1-year deal, or is he on contract for next year?
He is on a 1 year and then player option. So he has... Everyone expects him to sort of opt out, but I don't know what the value for Russell Westbrook is currently.
It's probably better after the season he did have, although...
I would agree, but I don't know who's going to take him on, especially if he's searching for a ring. I don't know a better place.
Phoenix?
Phoenix is going to retool almost completely, talking about getting rid of...
Exactly, he might slip Kevin right Durant in there.
If he wants to be the star player again, but I think he's trying to do his last capture of the trophy, the ever so elusive trophy.
Yeah, good luck to him, but after spending a season with him, I can see why he doesn't have one yet.
There's a reason they call it the Russell Westbrook experience, and he knows it himself. You kind of have to live with whatever he does.
There's some high highs and some low lows, and
you meet up in between there. Somehow you end up in the middle. He does some really, really dumb stuff, like dribble it off his foot or off his knee, and then he potentially may go back and get a steal or a block.
Layup, yeah.
It's just, it
nail a 3 in clutch time or not, or airball.
Who knows?
It is a fun grab bag of an experience, but yeah, if you're trying for a consistent run, it's a little too much heart attack inducing.
Very, very much so, being especially on the end of that heart attack. With that being said, let's move over to a little bit harder round ball, that baseball. I've saved my big story for much later here, but we'll start with the good fun news was seeing the Judge and Ohtani shakeup. Yankees versus Dodgers faced off earlier this week, and it was a show. Lots of fireworks.
Yes, if you're actually looking for quality baseball, that was a great series to catch, and it was a rematch of the World Series from last year, and it's looking like it might be a rematch of the World Series this year.
Potentially. Yankees are on a little bit of it. Like, they are a very, very good baseball team. I mean, I don't know how either of those teams can't be good with the amount of money they spend, but we did see Ohtani and Judge fire a lot of home runs. I saw one day the score was like 18-2 or whatever in the Dodgers' favor, and Ohtani took a nap in the dugout. So that was super cool. And like I said, one of the series we saw back-to-back Judge and then Ohtani home runs. It was excellent baseball all around.
Yeah, it was indeed. I think the first game in a couple of decades where 2 MVPs both homered in the same game, Judge and Ohtani, which is a little wild considering. No, that can't be the only thing about. Was it reigning MVPs? Had to be that.
Probably reigning MVPs.
Yeah, because the Dodgers lineup has got like 4 MVPs on it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the quality stuff was good, and that was the Judge and Ohtani show. I get. Is that straight into the bad baseball now?
Before we get there, would you let Ohtani pitch again?
Oh, I mean, here's the fun thing. They're working. He gets to take the slowest rehab route possible and just be as safe as they can be, because he is on schedule to be ready to. He could have been ready to go at this point in the year already, but they have, because of the amount of money they're spending, they have no need to force him to. So here's the thing: is he's a really good pitcher, and pitcher is the most valuable position on the field.
I don't remember if he's like a starter or a reliever.
He is a start, because that's the most effective way if he has the stamina to do it, pitching once every 5th day, and being able to be a either DH or position player on the other 4 days is how you get the most value out of him versus.
I was going to say, I don't think I've seen him out in the field either.
He's been DHing this year, I'm pretty certain. He used to play out in the corner outfield spots every now and then.
Yeah,
but
you don't.
Reason to now.
Yeah, I was about to say, is it more valuable to have him as a pitcher, or is it more valuable to have him as a position player? I mean, pitcher is the most important for sure, and he's a very, very good pitcher, all do say, but also having the ability to throw somebody out there is also kind of high value.
Yeah, there is value from the outfield, but again, pitcher dwarfs that just because of being in control of basically the entire flow of the game. And that's, I think, the real big deciding factor, especially as a starter with his track record. They're gonna do it again. Like he will be in the rotation, even if it's as like a spot sixth guy. That's still gonna be valuable for extending the rest of your bullpen, and he can still bat that game. That's the wild thing. Like that's how it used to be back in my day. The pitchers had to bat for themselves, but you have an all-star batter.
He would have a huge advantage back in the old National League days, but now it's kind of all kaput because everyone gets a DH because it's better for baseball.
Well, that was always my thinking too, that it's just going to be the same, like every team gets the same boost. No, some of them still don't know what the hell they're doing with their DH. Look at us.
I don't know if we could be put in the same category. Speaking of us, that's where our transition to, and sort of my big thought and story of this week. The Rockies, our favorite baseball team, they do win today, but after
they took that one, huh?
They did. 6-4, I think, was the final today, actually, and we got to face off against the lowly Marlins. 10-50, our record now. 8 straight losses before this. This is the 4th time the Rockies have dropped 8 in a row this season, and we are more than historically bad at this point.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We have grabbed national attention by being worse than anyone thought possible at the game of baseball. And then I've seen some very interesting stats and comparisons for things such as since September 22nd of last year, the Broncos have 10 wins and the Rockies have 10 wins. Since, May 22nd, Scotty Scheffler has 3 wins and the Rockies have 3 wins.
Yeah, we are just some statistics. Right now, currently, we are on a pace to lose 137 games.
Blowing out the record of, I think, 121 from last year.
Yes. And on the road, the Rockies are 3-28 as a team.
It's quite bad. And the other thing that really caught my attention, the one I saw, was that, and this is, again, remember, a franchise that started back in 1993. They are, over 25 years? Where are we at? Yeah,
22.
Yeah. Decades of history being the point.
32.
This is their
32. Excuse me.
This is their worst stretch of 100 games, worst stretch of 200 games, worst stretch of 300 games, worst stretch of 400 games, worst stretch of 500 games. That's over 2 years. It's time spent. This is by far the darkest of days.
If you're new to this podcast, welcome. Second, back a few weeks ago, I said potentially, what if we already had the best baseball that we've seen? Because the Rockies have this tendency that you play really good to the start and then you drop off right before the All-Star break, and that's kind of it. These days, occasionally you'll get like a little hot streak here and there. Maybe in September or whatever, you'll have a good week. But I was like, we had such a bad start, and everyone's like, we're waiting for the boost to go. I was like, I don't know. Maybe that is the boost, and that seems to potentially be the case right now.
Yeah, it's, I was thinking about this as well because there have been just so many pieces about how bad we are and why our situation is so much worse than the White Sox, who are at least have organizationally changed their general manager and have kind of intentionally traded away old players in an attempt to develop new prospects and gain more young value for their franchise, and are just going through the growing pains of that because sometimes you do have to just fill in holes with whatever old veteran is available at the price tag you can pay. But The Rockies are a team that is not only not good at the pro level, but not good at really many of the minor league levels either, and with not really much draft-like prospects to show for it.
Yeah, one of the articles is like, even if we brought up a AAA minor league team from one of the real professional baseball teams, they could probably have the same record-ish as the Rockies do currently.
And they would recognize a lot of our players.
Which leads into sort of my big question or thought. I mean, there's not a lot going for us. We can't have another top 10 pick. We are out on that one, so that's also bad luck. I mean, our prospects, I don't know. Potentially we'll see them very, very soon. We almost need a completely reshake up and everything, but all this requires to spend money, right? Which our owner Monfort has been so reluctant to do. But into his case, if there is no sort of cap in baseball, what is the incentive for him spending money when teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees are going to outspend him on the better players? Why should he go out and try to get these players? And should there be a cap in baseball such that it levels the playing field for all?
See, that's funny because I think the argument is now that there should be a floor in baseball of
that would comes with the cap.
Yeah.
Like you can't. You have your floor and you have your ceiling. That's where your cap is. And the Rockies would for sure have to probably spend some more along with some other teams. Because
the thing is that they are spending more than they used to. It's not like the early 2000s Rockies, which were just being pinch pennies and not doling out money until they made the big mistakes with. That's kind of the history of the Rockies. They decide as soon as they're going to open their purse strings, they give out the worst contracts in baseball history.
We get robbed.
Yeah, essentially. So yeah, we are in a position now where the largest single contract on our books, I'm pretty certain, in Chris Bryant is worthless. Has no value to any other team in the you can't.
It's worse than worthless. He has negative value on our team.
Yes, just actively taking up a roster spot, except for right now when he's on the injured list, which is why he spent most of his time on his contract on the injured list. I really do not see a change other than a complete top-down organizational overhaul.
Do you think a cap in baseball is possible?
No, it doesn't seem likely, what with everyone being fine with how the arms race between it's now the Mets who are the biggest spender in the league, also thanks to their new Juan Soto contract.
Potentially also might have got robbed, but is it what does a cap look like? What would that even look like for the baseball?
That's the thing, is
crazy because
the disparity is so huge. The Mets and the Yankees are both spending over $300 million. The Rockies are in the $150 million range, and I think the bottom 4 teams or something are under $100K.
I can't even,
or $100 million.
Yeah, I can't even picture. You have to find an even ground, and it's this has to be almost a multi.
You'll be chopping off. You'll be forcing the top 3 spending teams or something to absolutely.
It would almost have to be
their
a multi-year process, because not only, the bottom teams to spend more money. That's easy to do.
Yeah.
If you do it poorly, it's the top teams where they have to figure out where they're going to spend the money. And to be honest, I think there is some merit to what he's saying, right? I understand it from a competitive standpoint a little bit. I don't like that he's kind of throws up the white flag every year saying, yeah, not worth it. I'm not going to go spend however 700 or 500 million that the other squads are doing. But also I understand who else other than these basically the top 2 teams have the ability to do so. You have to almost home grow a team, which then once they become successful, they're going to leave.
Yeah, you only have a 6-year window to capitalize on them.
Yeah, and then they're going to leave to go play for whoever's going to pay them the big chunk of money.
Which is, essentially the cycle that we've seen most mid-level teams have to go through. And if you get it right, though, you become like the Kansas City Royals, or the who else has pulled it off? The Marlins have done it with a pretty homegrown team. That was back in the early 2000s. It's a billionaire's arms race, and get in the race, Dick. That's I don't know.
It feels, because the White Sox also have a little bit of the same problem, and there's a couple other. It feels for some reason, I don't know why baseball feels this way, but it feels like there's like some small, like you have your sort of billionaires and whatever, but the Rockies really feel like a millionaire sort of team. Like they're very, what we have in our bank accounts not the same as some other teams for sure.
And I mean, I guess because the Dodgers are not under single ownership. That's like a conglomerate of guys of interests with different various funding sources. So maybe that's going to be it. And that does seem to kind of be the trend across multiple leagues. Is that singularly owned teams are going to be a rarity if you're not willing to. Fund them with deep pockets.
Yeah, there are very few teams who can be singularly owned anymore. There's only one team, I think, in the past few years at the top of my mind that has been bought by just one single owner. And that's the Los Angeles Clippers, who got bought by Ballmer. But he's
a big billionaire.
Correct. The Denver Broncos, I think, are basically we have like a big
It's the Walter Penner family, but then there's like a few different interests with
bunch of other little interests and whatnot.
Condi, Lewis Hamilton.
Yep. Washington Commanders is a big conglomerate. Dodgers, when they got bought up, a big conglomerate.
If your pockets aren't deep enough, find some friends whose are.
Is it? And I don't know what the right move. At some point, like just watching some of these baseball games, we are doing the sport no favor for sure.
It's ugly.
Yeah, looking out, this year's been. The fans, I think, are really speaking out this year. The stadium is empty pretty much most of the time. Even when the Yankees or Dodgers do come in, you can find a seat pretty much same day, anytime, really, at like market price.
Yeah, there's been absolutely no sellouts, which is a great shame for Coors Field. That is kind of what's necessary. The fans that are out at the away stadiums are donning the paper bags and wearing the sell the team merch. So, the word's getting out at least, and I think that is the only benefit to being in this darkest timeline, is that we are such a spectacle of bad decision making from a top down like organizational job that literally everyone who talks about sports is talking about it.
I think, unfortunately, also for the Rockies, it's magnified to a greater, at least here in the Colorado area, because we have champions. The Broncos are like one of the most winning franchises in all of the NFL. The Nuggets have been on a hot streak for the past, I'll say, like 8 or 10 years now. Yeah. Avalanche have another.
This is our second
Stanley
glory
Cup
era.
again, with MVPs to their name. They're really the only major sport. Even our lacrosse team, the Rapids, have a championship in the past few years.
The Rockies are the only major team without a championship.
Yes. Looking Colorado sports, we kind of have a culture of winning, and we have a desire to win. And thank God the Cronkies and Josh have kind of pushed that envelope now inside a Ball Arena. It didn't used to be that way, at least for some of the dark days. But now that they've gotten a little bit of the taste of the glory, it's different. I don't know what the MLB can do, right? I don't think they can force Montford to sell the team, right? That doesn't look very
league-wide,
good.
There's not going to be any action from the other owners, because for as pitiful as they are, the financials of the team are still, within the bounds of their acceptable parameters. It's a money-making machine still.
Yeah, I agree.
That's where the lack of attendance is going to be the only thing that also financially does anything to the team when it stops becoming worthwhile.
I'm curious because at some point the owners are going to get upset, right? Because eventually you're going to have a new TV deal or whatnot pop up, and they're going to be like, ugh. There has to be some sort of repercussion for being as bad as we are, right? I mean, some people may want to watch the ship burn and scuttle, but
yeah, I don't know. They're how much organized fan backlash there would have to be to warrant an official reaction against a singular owner, or member of the.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a fan thing at all, because I think the Rockies.
I just don't see it in the big billionaires club them making a move against one of their own.
Not even if it starts to affect what they're getting put in their own pockets.
That's where I think that's up to the fans, and having an organized and very vocal sort of boycott of baseball as a whole. Maybe it's we're not watching anything with this Rockies product involved.
Yeah, it just scares me a little bit, because I don't know, it kind of feels like we're hostages on this terrible ship. So many pirates have invaded, and the fans are no longer captains. We have not been captains in so long.
Yeah, not to get too real about it, but I've learned in my lifetime now that things can always get worse than you expect them to be able to within reason. And that's kind of the newsworthy thing about this year, is no one ever thought a baseball team could be built this bad. There was always this assumption of no, a team wins about a third of their games, they lose about a third of their games, and there's a third left of the games to fight over. This team is not winning a third of its games.
Not even close. I don't even know if it even matters at this point. We're just kind of we're like the Harlem Globetrotters and whatever, the Washington Generals, I think it is the team they go against, and we're just,
yes,
we're there to be a sort of a.
Literally, that is the position we have now taken, because of it's going to be one of those expounding factors on this road to the worst record of all time. Clubs are very well aware of what the stigma is around the Rockies, and it is a very bad look to lose to them. So you're getting everyone's A game every single night.
There are two things to this that make this even worse. Is you may potentially get a draw for being so bad. Like I said, people do like to see things just go horribly wrong. Just kind of the way human nature is. I think
whenever the loss 122 is going to be, when we're on pace for that, then you'll get a little spike, sure.
One, we're going to get some more increased viewership in this unfortunate blunder that we'll call a professional baseball team. And two, who is ever going to want to come to this team now? You have to be almost Jesus Christ himself to come try to be a savior, and I don't think anyone wants that task. You could get paid probably mad big, but also you have now this incredible weight on your shoulders that breaks Chris Bryant in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, we can talk about that, how arguably the two best players on the roster right now would be Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar, and you know for sure that they understand that they're the best players in the room and have that weight of I got to do something to help us, get a W on the board. And that's led to Doyle's having kind of a rough year. Tovar had an injured beginning to the year, came off the injured list hot, and has now kind of dropped back to earth with everyone else on the team. But even that, those guys would be utility role players on any of the good teams in the league.
Maybe they could potentially. I think they might be a good role.
Tovar is a starter on a lot. I think on most teams. There's about still probably at least 6 or 7 other shortstops who take a starting job from him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think out of the two players that out of all the players that we have, the two best players that we have play, I think probably the toughest positions, I guess, to find sort of that star player out there in center field for Doyle, and then at shortstop for Tovar, which are kind of your money making positions, along with your pitchers and your third base.
Well, and then with position players, you have to think of the offensive side as well. That's kind of where Doyle's lost a fair bit. He's still showing some pop, but it's a team-wide thing of the averages are just not good. The strikeout rate is not good. And then for Tovar, he provides... He's kind of just like a Walmart version of an elite shortstop. And that's not to his disrespect or anything. It just his numbers are not at that elite level. They're good. They're not great.
Again, these guys are going to only be here for the next couple years. We have such a bad reputation that I don't think we can even keep our homegrown talent around anymore. If they truly have the option to be like unrestricted, I would, if I am a competitor, I would take less money to go elsewhere for sure.
I mean, that's got to be a point of contention of like, if anyone who can actually stand a chance of being in the postseason has an interest in bringing me on board, please do. I mean, there's already the stigma for pitchers about playing half your games at altitude, and now it's just like, it doesn't matter what position you play there, because there was always sort of the rotating door at first base ever since Todd Helton left, and that still has not really ever had a permanent solution found, or like a long-term franchise guy.
We've rotated every 2 years, if not every year. There's someone,
and
new
now
out there.
basically every position has that. Now that Charlie Blackmon isn't roaming the outfield again,
I couldn't even name who our first baseman is anymore. We have McMahon.
we've been rotating.
McMahon's at third now.
McMahon's at third. Tovar's at short. I would give you $10 if you could name who played second base for the Rockies today.
I don't know. I know that there's the little short guy who doesn't fit out there because it keeps getting blooped over his head every so often.
Yeah, that was Amador, and he got sent back down, unfortunately.
Because he's in the wrong position.
I think it's Orlando Arcia is our new second baseman, and we got him, I believe, from the Cleveland franchise, who designated him for assignment because he was hitting like 180-something and couldn't stay in their lineup. And instead of going down to the minors, he decided to get cut and came over here. That's the level of roster replacement that we're getting.
So Tovar kind of took his life sentence here a little bit. He is here through 31.
Oh my God! How much did they sign him for?
So he's getting roughly 4.5 this year. He's gonna get 5.5 next year, 8.5 the next year, 11.5, 14.5, 16.5, and then 23.
Wait,
23 million
at the very end?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to say his agent should get fired, but that 23 million at the end might be a brilliant kicker because the odds of him still being with the Rockies at that point are very low.
It's crazy.
That's funny that they would
7 years, 63 million,
with almost a third of it backloaded into the last year. How strange. Well, then Tovar is going to be your face of the franchise for a lot of this stretch here, it seems like.
Yeah, and then unfortunately Doyle, who's already 27, is going to go through arbitration these next 3 years, and he's going to be 30 and 28.
Okay, so he was a late bloomer. He's not going to hit free agency until 2030. Interesting. Okay, well, that's your Rockies forecast. The best we've got are Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar. Hopefully they make some huge strides going from very good baseball players to elite, top of the league talents.
Baseball purgatory.
Essentially.
It's worse than purgatory if you really want to play actual good baseball. It's baseball like Dante's Inferno, the different circles of hell.
Maybe instead of a salary cap, we need to just look at making a relegation system for MLB. That I think would be the solution to get the Rockies out of this whole mess here.
The only unfortunate thing about that is
watch them slide all the way down to AA.
We could probably be a middling AAA team. Like I think a lot of good. Like I think the Dodgers AAA roster would probably beat up on our major league team. Same with the Yankees. It's going to be just another one of theirs, and now we have to go out to what is like a Rochester or whatever, where their little AAA stadium is.
AAA is pretty big.
It's big, but it's not.
It's the double and single A ones that are really out in the middle of nowhere.
It sucks to be it sucks to watch baseball here because there's no good baseball around, unfortunately, unless you root for another team. But also, it's like, why even bother at any point? Which is why a lot of people stop going to the games and watching. Even our granny's not watching every game like she expected because it's just so rough to watch.
Yeah, it's very unfulfilled. Like there's a premise to following a team that you expect a certain level of heartbreak and disappointment, but those are supposed to be rewarded with the times of jubilation and joy and success and overcoming the odds, and that this team has just not paid that off.
This is borderline abusive at this point.
Yeah, essentially, if it's certainly fan abuse.
Is it more surprising? It has to be a surprise when we win now. Like, it's expected that you lose every single game.
Statistically, it is an outlier that we win, yes.
Like, that's not fun for any fan.
It's one of the unlikeliest of outcomes.
I think, like, in sports, it's supposed to be like a 50-50 any given day.
That is the most generally enticing, sporting event is when it's fairly close, evenly matched. Ideally, it's because both teams are good, but sometimes it's fun when both teams are bad.
I would love to see a team that's just as bad as us.
Well, that is apparently what we're looking forward to this week with our series against Miami. Most people are saying this is our best chance to take a series until we play Chicago, I think, in August.
The White Sox?
Yeah. The Orioles are also tough, but I don't think we play them this year.
We can't beat an American League East team.
The Orioles are in the toilet of the American League East.
Yeah.
Not to the level that no one's in the toilet the way we're in the toilet, but it was surprising to everyone that the Orioles, who seem to be getting some traction and moving in the right direction, have once again fallen completely off the rails.
There's a lot of teams out there that just have historically bad runs. Like, I don't know what's wrong with them. Like, Miami is one of those teams. Like, they can't get any fans in there. Their beautiful stadium and their baseball team is just awful, just all the time.
That is all post World Series, though. They did get one in the early days,
the very, very early days. But like, it doesn't matter. They put together like a superstar roster a few years ago with like Jose Reyes and a bunch of people when Jeter was running the team. Brought in all these big old names. Didn't pan out for them because they were old naturally. But
yeah, a little too much past prime there. Yeah, I don't know. There's a very interesting sort of, we might be getting into a level of the amount of elite players is getting to be a little more concentrated, and there's not enough of them to go around to every team in the league. So there's just going to be some teams that can compete at that level and some who can't. Till we get more of those top level guys, there's just going to be some winners and losers, it feels like.
Completely agree. Do you think more players are on a like even level play, and then you have just like some of the people who are just complete outliers, like the Shohei Ohtani, the Judges, the Trouts back in their day, the Bryce Harpers? But have we kind of just almost like capped out on baseball? I mean, we've been doing professional baseball for centuries almost at this point. Like, have we like reached a point where it almost doesn't really matter who you have on your roster, and those who can't afford just even one of those elite level talents just far surpass everybody? You know,
it's an interesting question because we've certainly entered, I think, a hyper specialized era of baseball where it's more likely that even a not scouted talent young player can still have access to pretty high level like hitting coaching, fielding coaching, like a lot more. If you want to try to be a baseball player, there are lots of options out there for you and like tools at your disposal to hone your game with.
That might be the other piece of baseball is just so big. Like, you have so many people on your roster, particularly when you start coming from the high school level into the college level, and then the pros. You kind of, even at the pro level, like what professional baseball is, from farm league, single A, double A, triple A, to actual MLB. And I mean, there's levels to everything, of course, but you have so many, there's like a ton of baseball players just roaming around.
Yeah, it's there are a lot of them out there, and it is still the most lucrative money-making sport if you have the choice of what venue you want to be a professional athlete in.
I'm curious if that's going to still hold true, right? Because you are right. There's like the cream of the crop, which are getting the biggest contracts, $500 million, which is like shocking when Pat Mahomes signed that as a quarterback, but he did it over God knows how many years, a lifetime of years, it feels like. Baseball's kind of doing the same, but you don't not everybody's going to get a contract like that. Very, very few.
Certainly not the cream of the crop ones, but even a mid-level like baseball contract is worth more guaranteed money and comes with a lot less physicality than almost, probably 95% of NFL contracts.
Oh, for sure, because the NFL ones are not guaranteed, and you have to go out there and
yes, that's why the NFL is a terrible prospect. And then The NBA guys are starting to eke up there, but
NBA they're still fully guaranteed contracts. The wear and tear is a little bit more since you do have to go out there and run. That is a requirement of the sports is run and
yes.
jump.
The stopping and starting is a lot more consistent for sure. I would agree. A more physical, a more consistent like grinding on parts.
Depends. Like the knees and the ankles and hips and things like that for basketball, sure, back for sure. Baseball, it would be your shoulder. Like that's
different mechanics going on.
I'd have to check it out because the basketball contracts now are they have to be very close. Like you don't see $500 million players running around quite yet, at least from just a pure contract level. But there are like the mid-level guys like Zeke Naji running around out there who's getting paid 10, 11, 12, 13 million dollars just to be a mid-level, unfortunately, schmuck running around in the NBA.
And we all know that that's dream money for NHL players.
The highest paid NHL players
is a Zeke Naji or Charlie Blackmon made more than Nathan McKinnon in that last year.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
Much like being a Rockies fan.
Also that. To cover the specifics of what actually happened this week in the games, we already covered eight losses in a row. We had the one win to start the Yankee series, 2 losses there. Took it out to Chicago, 3 losses there, including an extra innings, 11th inning affair where the Cubs really said, hey, we are not losing to this team, guys. Get your stuff together. And then we took the show on the road to New York City. And you know who's been having a rough time of things recently is Juan Soto. And the Rockies said, we've got just the medicine for you, Juan. Kick your feet up.
Batting practice.
Relax and have a series off to just sort of enjoy the show of the Mets smacking on the Rockies for 3 games in a row.
Not ideal. Did get one today.
We got the first of a 3-game set in Miami. We're looking at a 3-game stint with the Marlins. And then we're back home to host the Mets here. Show them what Coors Field looks like.
Are we... Because we get the Dodgers, I think, next week.
I know Giants are coming in. It might be Dodgers after that.
Not looking good. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll have our 8th game streak of losing.
Oh, most certainly. We'll see, though. Yeah, it's a 1 out of 3 on the Marlins series. We're still looking for that first series win.
Oh, that'd be so exciting, but so sad if the Marlins are that team.
It would be a pretty ignoble title to have to carry. If anything, we've been more on perfect game watch for opposing pitchers in our games.
I'm waiting for it to happen.
It's been pretty close. A couple of guys have gone like into the 7th before we get our first hit or something.
I mean, we have so many games where it's just like 2, 3, 4. And
normally it's like a lucky single and a home run. And that's how we get any runs on the board, but very rough. And then we don't even have to get that deep into it. But I have noticed that there is a fun statistical thing now where the Rockies pitchers who... This is all, of course, barring whether or not they get blown up in the first inning, which is the Senzatella special. But even if they make it through the first rotation of the lineup, which is innings 1, 2, and 3, I'm pretty certain, I'll have to do the research on it, we, I think, have the worst 4th inning, which is the second time through the lineup of our many things that we lead baseball in being bad at. I think that one's going to be pretty egregious.
Because they get all the they see all the things.
They're like, oh, I needed just one time to see it. We got it. We're dialed in.
Okay, time to hit some dingers.
Basically.
Anyway, let's have some fun. I assume you have some trivia ready to go.
I sure do. Did we want to cover any of our minor notes this week or just right into our closing quiz here?
We'll jump right into our closing quiz here. Most of it's just like NFL stuff, which we'll talk about maybe.
Yeah, we have plenty of time.
Yeah.
Very good. Well then, if you are new to the podcast, you are getting your first taste of our long-running tradition here, the closing quiz. This is my 3rd time third or 4th. We're still in the early days of the quiz. But yes, one of us devises a somewhat topical quiz of sports trivia to test our co-host's knowledge. And this week, in honor of Gwyneth Phillips and her playoff MVP rookie performance, this is a quiz about rookies and memorable rookie seasons. We're going to cover all of our big sports, through a little men's, through a little women's, And we're going some oldies, some modern. Really
Got
test your breadth and width here.
Classic hits and your new modern age.
I've got 7 on the board here, but as always, I have some wrinkles and bonus points potential.
Yeah, your quizzes always come with a lot of asterisks attached to it.
Don't worry about it. Question number 1. In his 1950-51 rookie season, Red Wings goalie Terry Sawchuk started 70 games and posted 11 shutouts with a 197 goals allowed average. How many wins did he accrue that season? A, 26, B, 37, C, 44, D, 60.
60 feels like too much for back in the day. We're talking about the 50s.
50-51.
Ooh, 40. It has to be. It's going to be 37 or 46 because right now they play 86 games, much like
82.
the NBA. 82. Yeah, same.
He started 70. That was in the question.
Good. He started 70. I'm feeling he wins 40.
44 is the correct answer. Yeah, a mark that has been very rarely, if ever, eclipsed.
That's a little shocking because I feel
it's a lot of winning.
That's
very
half
much a lot
of
your
winning.
Schedule in wins thanks to one guy on your roster.
Yeah, I feel like luck you could get like if you're lucky as a goaltender because they're not, I don't know like what the draft looks like and where goaltenders go. I assume they're very special.
Depends on the goalie.
Yeah,
most of them are like 2nd, 3rd, 4th round picks. You expect to have to develop for a while.
Yeah, but towards the end of that draft, there you might just get blessed and just get put on a really good team, and you get a lot of winning there
potentially. Yeah, so that is a point on the board for you. Question number 2. Which of these major leaguers had the best Rookie of the Year campaign based on their WAR? A, Mike Trout's 2012. B, Aaron Judge's 2017. C, Shohei Ohtani's 2018. D, Bryce Harper's 2012. Or E, Ichiro Suzuki's 2001.
Ooh, I think I'm going to go with Shohei Ohtani because he was a rookie, but he's not like
he would have been the oldest rookie of this selection.
He's not
Maybe
a
Suzuki would have also been.
Yeah, did Mike Trout and Harper share the same rookie season? Or were they 1 year
No,
apart?
they were both the same rookie season. American League and National League have different Rookie of the Year awards.
Yeah. Both very, very good, but I don't think they were to the same. Like, Shohei Ohtani was damn near close to an MVP level player his rookie year, which is very, very rarely happens. Ichiro, he's kind of just like a different specimen. He would be the only person I think that could challenge Shohei, so it's one of those two, but I feel like Shohei because he's probably, with the pitching involved, he has to have the best.
You've fallen into my trap, foolish Yugi.
Oh no!
Actually, Mike Trout's 2012 rookie season was possibly the best of his career and one of the best all-time rookie seasons.
He is really, really good at baseball, but I think maybe if he struggled, maybe it was early on in those.
No, he
those
came
years.
out of the gate strong as a horse, and if anything, got worse over time. 10.5 WAR in his 2012 campaign. He hit 320, 564, 963 slash line, led the majors in runs and stolen bases. The only reason he wasn't MVP was because Miguel Cabrera hit 44 home runs and had 138 RBI.
That is very, very good.
Actually, Shohei's rookie season was the lowest on this list of Rookies of the Year, 4.1 WAR.
Really?
He was with the Angels still at that point. And that very first year, like he was impressive, but there was definitely an adjustment to the American game.
Sure. That makes sense. Unless you're Mike Trout, because then you defy the laws of baseball.
Yep. And then Bryce Harper, who was his fellow 2012 Rookie of the Year, only had a 5.2. Only a 5.2. Some guys never hit 5.2. This one's a little bit more of a brain teaser because it's gonna no multiple choice options. How many Colorado Avalanche have won Rookie of the Year?
I'm gonna assume McKinnon for sure. I would assume Cale Makar because he was a little bit of a shock because we ended up getting him like second or whatever.
He made his debut in the playoffs the year before his rookie season. That's a pretty good debut.
Very, very good debut. Are we counting the question here where you're asterisk? Are we counting the Quebec team or whatever team we were before?
So the question was, how many Colorado Avalanche have won the Calder?
I'm going to say 4.
You are correct. It is 4. It is Cale Makar, 1920.
Nathan
McKinnon from the 13-14.
I included Joe Sakic there.
Surprise! That is my tidbit of this bit.
He didn't win.
Landy won it in 11-12.
I forgot
and
about
Chris
that one.
Drury won it in 98-99. My bonus points would have been if you could have named the three players who won it not as Avalanche. That would have been Peter Forsberg was a Nordique.
Forsberg, Sakic, and
Sakic never won it. His rookie season, he was like fifth best of his rookie class, against a bunch of nobodies who apparently. Teemu Selanne and Ray Bourque were our other winners. Selanne was with the Winnipeg franchise, and Bourque was with Boston. Moving right along, so pretty solid so far, 2 out of 3. Question number 4. How many statistical categories did Barry Sanders lead the league in during his Offensive Rookie of the Year campaign in 1989? And, you've got the big ones of rushing,
touchdowns,
yards. Well, that's rushing.
Rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, carries I think would probably be there because that Detroit team worked him like no other. Trying to think if there would be any. I don't think he would have any of the receiving because
that wasn't really Barry. You just handed Barry the ball. You didn't make him work harder to get it.
I'm not saying Barry couldn't do it. I think it's just the tools around him were not set.
Yeah, the West Coast offense was not a thing in the 80s.
To do so.
Not in Detroit anyway.
Yeah. And then I'm going to say 4 rushing yards, rushing touchdown carries, and then broken tackles would be the 4 that I would have off the top of my mind.
Ooh, broken tackles he probably did lead in, but it is not part of the Pro Football Focus stat line. Actually, Barry Sanders was the leader in 0 of the categories his rookie season. He was second in almost all of them by very slim margins.
Because, let me guess, Emmitt Smith was
No,
there.
this was the height of the career of Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare.
Oh, this was before he got his head
This
cracked
was a couple years before Steve Atwater had his say.
Before the nightmare ended.
But yes, this was Christian Okoye's MVP season, who had 10 more yards. He had literally 10 more yards, 0.7 more yards per game, and Greg Bell had 1 more touchdown than Barry. But because of the impressive body from the Rook, and Barry Sanders had 90 less attempts overall than any of those guys. They still hadn't even learned to just hand him the ball yet.
That sounds like they were slowly learning.
Yeah, it didn't take them long. Okay, question number 5. We'll get this in here nice and quick here. True or false? 3 incredible NBA players have taken home the MVP award in their rookie campaign. Wilt Chamberlain, Wes Unseld, and Magic Johnson. Is that true or false?
I want to say false because I feel like one of those dudes did not. Wes Unseld does not feel correct in that group. Magic Johnson, he might not have actually. It might have been because him and Larry Bird have been so close in a lot of categories, so I don't think that is true.
False is the correct answer, but your logic was not far off. So Wilt Chamberlain and Wes Unseld both did win Rookie of the Year MVP awards. Magic Johnson won Finals MVP, but not Rookie of the Year overall.
Yeah, because Bird got it instead.
Probably. Question number 6. Which of the following WNBA Rookies of the Year was not the number 1 pick overall? A. Caitlin Clark. B. Ryan Howard. C. Nafisa Collier. D. Asia Wilson. E. Brianna Stewart. One of them was not a number 1 pick.
Unfortunately, I think I actually
looked this up.
It just happened to fall into my lap earlier this week. It's Ryan Howard. She was not a number 1 pick. The rest of them were, I'm pretty sure.
No, Ryan Howard was a number 1 pick. It was Nafisa Collier taken at pick number 4.
I thought Nafisa was higher. I got the two switched.
Yep.
Up on the little Instagram post I saw earlier this week.
Yeah, bummer. And then to close out the quiz here, question number 7. Part of Ottawa Charge goalie Gwyneth Phillips' impressive finals run was the volume of her production. True or false? Phillips' 270 shots against was 100 more than the next closest goalie, setting a PWHL record.
Is that total for the season?
That was for the finals. That was
finals.
just for the finals.
Just in the last final?
The playoff, like 2025 playoffs run.
Oh, that's for sure true, because some of the games that she got involved in were extensively long.
She did play in the longest games possible, but unfortunately that is false. While she did have 270, which was higher than the 160 faced by Maddie Rooney, Erin Frankel set the record last year with 300 shots against.
What is happening? What happens that you...
Boston played a lot of overtime too.
that literally you just have to be passing the puck to the other team and said, we're done with it. Here, you take a
Yeah,
shot.
something crazy.
That's insane.
Well, I hope we all learned a little something about very famous rookies of the year.
I'm still flabbergasted. Like that, out of all of them, the last one is the craziest. Like, how many? Because let's assume best of 5, right? In each
Best
series,
of 5.
and there's two series total.
Yep,
You have the
semi and
so-
finals.
So best you could play 10 games total. So that's 30 shots a game, which is not unheard of.
It's high for
A little more-
PWHL.
yeah. Not
Yeah.
quite unheard of, but if it's less than that, that's
30 plus every night
that's
for all 10 nights.
that's a lot.
There's a reason neither one of these goalies ended up winning the cup. You don't win on the team that gives up the most shots in league history.
Yeah, that you can't do that.
Well, that's our closing quiz. I didn't even tally up your score. I think we ended up with 3 out of 7.
Yeah, we did. You
good. You were in the ballpark for so many.
I was in the ballpark. The logic was all wrong.
It's okay. Yeah, we'll maybe put up a scoreboard now that we're gonna have a little digital home for the podcast now.
We will.
By the time this one reaches your ears, we should have a website live to be home for all the episodes of This Week in Sports and all the other fine programming from 321 Productions.
Yes, it'll be very, very, very exciting. Like I said, we are currently in the works of a new project involved. We'll keep track we'll call the seasons the year of sports, This Week in Sports and year, and we'll keep a track of our trivia scores, where I will inevitably be the winner of sports trivia.
I mean,
with all my unique
yeah,
knowledge.
if you want to ratchet up the difficulty levels on week to week, we can ratchet up difficulty levels. That's fine. I still haven't done has this guy played for the Rockies or not.
Who he played for?
That's still in my back pocket. I'm gonna pull it out when I need a real ace up my sleeve.
It's a trap. It's always a
Yep.
trap. No one knows who plays for the Rockies.
They snuck a couple new ones in on me just this last series. I don't know what's going on out there. I think if you buy the uniform and show up to a game day with a glove, I bet we could get in.
You show up early in the stands. You're like, what are you doing up there? Come. You're supposed to be in batting practice.
Just
right
like you slip over the gate and put on your batting gloves and get in line for the batting practice. It won't look much different, I don't think.
I mean, the way we're pitching and playing, I mean, I could go out and throw batting practice to some of these dudes too. Like,
yeah, I would be interested because you did not play any baseball in your youth, did you?
Nope, none.
I'd be very curious to see how your form holds up.
I can make it. How far is it from the mound to the
it's like
plate?
60 feet, I think.
Home plate? I could make it 60.
Oh, I'm sure you could make it there. The accuracy is sort of the big issue with that position.
Oh, I can for sure make it inside the box.
Okay.
Depends. Also, widely depends on who's back there. There could be very generous.
Yes. I think that would be what we would need, yes. So, well, I think that does it for us on this week for our roundup. Thank you once again for coming by to find out what happened this week in sports. As always, I have been your hockey nerd, Nick, with our friendly neighborhood co-host, Zach.
Thank you guys for coming along. Hope you get to know and enjoy our new format a little bit quicker and sooner, and we get to dive into some of the sport topics that we really want to talk about and hopefully educate you along the way as well as ourselves and co-hosts. See you guys later.
Adios.